Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Fears grow as Ghana risks losing Mpox battle following a sharp surge in the last 3 months. But the Ghana Health Service insists the situation is under control. Also, Imani and oversight groups demand forensic audit of gold for all policy amid concerns over revenue leakages and smuggling risks. And much later on the program, as millions of Ghanaians struggling to find a place to lay their heads, calls are intensifying for innovative solutions to meet the country's growing housing demand. Thank you very much for keeping your dials here. Now there's a growing concern of a likelihood that the country is losing the fight against the Mpox disease outbreak, urging a need for re-strategizing of efforts. As at June 3, Ghana had recorded only 45 cases of Mpox, with the Western region being the hotspot. 3 months on, the figure has jumped sharply to 583 cases, and that was recorded as of September 20, with 2 deaths. The rise in cases has sparked fears that the situation could be getting out of hands. But the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Adu, disagrees. He explains that the global response is shifting towards managing Mpox as an endemic condition rather than a temporary outbreak, noting that the perception that Mpox is a minor illness has been a barrier to effective management and reporting. He spoke exclusively to 3FM.
No. I that is not the issue. See, I think one of the things that we need to communicate is, if you look at, let's say, the global picture of the response, somehow I will say that it's been, it used to be called a public health emergency of international concern. Now the idea is that it must be managed as an endemic condition. So just last week we did dispatch a team. We had a meeting in Addis Ababa with member states in Africa AU that you need to integrate the management of Mpox into your routine services. So it is a situation that it has come that you need to see how best you can manage it. So it is not just about saying you've lost. No, that is not the issue. The issue is that it has two approaches to it. Because of perception that it's just a rash, people are reluctant to just report. And as I said, because it was not causing any mortalities, particularly if you look at the Ghana situation, we are getting almost like 600 cases and 2 mortalities. So people think that it's just a rash. So we still using this opportunity to tell people that it's a rash. But if you are not lucky and you have an underlying medical condition, you may die. Changing much, but the idea is that because it's the I would say the epicenter, we have to cut it so that we don't have the source going. So basically, this task is that let's identify all the interventions put in place in terms of several case management, risk communication, laboratory confirmation. How can we improve and make difference? One thing that I think which is good is that prior to just a week ago, we were sending samples to either Kumasi or Accra. Now we have some support from WHO, so now we are able to test the samples in even Takoradi and even other areas by using the cartridges. So now the ease of confirmation has improved.
And you had there Dr. Franklin Adu Bequin. He is the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, speaking exclusively earlier to Sri FM. Meanwhile, the Director of Health in the Bono, in the Ahafo region, Dr. Akosua Jewa, has cautioned against self-medication and urged residents who experience mpox symptoms to visit the nearest health facility to commence medical treatment at an early stage, as the region records cases as well.
We are all aware that Ghana, we have been facing outbreak of monkeypox, and in our region too, we are not exempted. We have reported 3 cases of mpox in Asunafo North and South, and they are all doing well. They and their contacts are doing well. And we know that mpox is caused by the monkeypox virus. An infection in human can occur when a person touches an infected animals or contaminated materials. And humans can also infect one another through infected body fluids or contaminants. So human-to-human transmission occurs by close contact with the lesions, that's body fluids, and also respiratory droplets. An incubation period for mpox is typically between 3 to 13 days, but it
And you had the Director of Health in the Ahafo region, Dr. Akosua Jewa. Cecilia Sono is Executive Director, Hope for Future Generation, an NGO in the health sector. She joins us live on the phone. Good afternoon to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Given the sharp jump from 45 at the time we reported of mpox to now 583 mpox cases in just 3 months, I'm just wondering what gaps you think exist in Ghana's current response strategy.
Thank you. I know Ghana Health Service has a very strong surveillance system, and they work with partners, including civil society and community-based organizations on the ground. And so the rise of the cases is quite alarming and it's worrying, because we know mpox, people get it through contacts and the rest. So the family system we have as a country, we need to really, really ensure that we find a way of curbing this contact so that people don't get it and it doesn't spread further. Especially if you look at the population that is most affected, it's also among vulnerable population, key and vulnerable population, which should be another worry to us as a country. So I think Ghana Health Service and government need to put in more resources to ensure that we quickly address it. I know we are expecting vaccines. I just hope that this will come. But even if the vaccine comes, it will need resources to get to the ground. And so we need to quickly put in more resources to ensure that Ghana Health Service and partners are on the ground to quickly address this gap before it gets out of hand. And so that is what, from my side or civil society side, we are calling that there should be stronger partnership with civil society, partners, donors, everybody, churches, everybody should come on board. Traditional leaders, youth, different groups should come on board. Media is very key in really getting to the ground to ensure that we quickly address this.
You talk about 2 major things: get resources and ensure that the people are able to go to the ground. To do what on the ground exactly? I just want some specificity.
And so, every disease, every preventable condition needs to go with education. And using different strategies for education is very important. And so getting these resources, I know Ghana Health Service have groups of people doing this, but they need to really look at who are the people in the group, if they can bring people to get to homes, houses, churches, different places. That is one. And then if in case we get the vaccine, we need to quickly go and immunize people. And immunizing people, you need resources to get to the ground. So for prevention and awareness, media is very key. Media is very, very important.
Let me ask you this. Do you agree with the Ghana Health Services view that mpox should be managed as an endemic condition rather than, something that is just happening and going away?
Well, it's an endemic, yes, but this can also be a big public health decision. So if it's endemic, just like how COVID came and we're able to address it, then they can use the same strategy. But it should be addressed because the number is quite alarming. And, they need to really, really, really look at the strategies they are using.
What role are you playing, like NGOs like yourself? Do you foresee yourself playing and ensuring that all hands are on desk to deal with this?
So for us, we have integrated MPOS education with all the groups that we are working with. We work with key and vulnerable populations under the Global Fund with workers. And so the NGOs have been trained, and I believe all of them. NACP has done the same thing. And so we integrate it into all our meetings, our community education and beneficiary education. And so the groups are also going to the ground and reaching out to peer educators and all community groups. We are really doing that at the level, at the regions that we are working in. And I believe other CSOs who are working under Global Fund are also doing it. And I think this is what we are doing.
Thank you so much, Mom, for speaking to us.
You're welcome.
And you had there Cecilia Seno, Executive Director, Hope for Future Generation, an NGO in the health sector. Now, Imani Africa and the Coalition of Oversight Institutions are demanding a forensic audit into Ghana's Gold for Oil program, alleging a review has pointed to revenue leakages and incentives for smuggling. Selected trading companies have also been identified for having opaque ownership, posing money launder risks. The previous government introduced the policy last year to deal with the exchange rate fluctuations and stabilize fuel prices in the country. Let's take a look at the concerns raised by Imani Africa in that release earlier. In terms of key revelations, it talks about governance breakdown in the gold barter. It says no foundational contract existed between the Bank of Ghana and Precious Minerals Marketing Company, allowing discretionary foreign exchange practices, weak pricing controls and incentives for smuggling. Again, in terms of revenue leakages and fuel import, it said that Ghana is exposed to an estimated GHS 2.7 billion. So that's 2.7 billion Ghana cedis in fiscal losses due to missing documentation and checked exemptions and BOST's dominant role. In terms of high-risk international suppliers, Imani and the other groups said that selected trading companies were flagged for opaque ownership, sanction-sensitive flows, and money laundering risks. And in terms of recommendation for accountability, Imani and the other group recommended commission for a comprehensive forensic audit, initiate clawbacks and prosecutions, and also enforce transparency and reform. So those are the main concerns coming from Imani Africa. And of course, we'll bring you some more analysis in our subsequent bulletin. Some 14 minutes past the hour of 12. When we come back, we'll bring you some more. Do stay with us.
Hello, Ghana. It's a new year and Bills Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working but want to start a business, don't let money stop you. With just your Ghana card, you can get a loan to turn your ideas into reality. Already running a business? Need more capital? Or are you a salary worker looking for extra funds? Bills offers fast and easy loans with no collateral, no deposit, and no SUSI savings required. Wherever you are, whatever you need, Bills makes it happen. Call Bills Microcredit today. Call 0596 920 833 or 0302 200 390 and get started. Bills is licensed and regulated by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
And you're still here on the Midday News on Shui FM 92.7. Now, the Food and Agriculture Minister, Eric Opoku, says the fight against illegal mining is a collective one which should not be left to government alone. Speaking on hot issues, the Agric Minister said that the government has intensified efforts to deal with the menace which has impacted the sector among other sectors of the economy as well.
And I must say that I'm grateful to the Food and Agricultural Organization for supporting Ghana to procure a modern soil testing equipment, and also supporting us to rehabilitate the Kumasi Soil Laboratory. Now we are in the position to test our soils across our districts. The machine will be testing the soils. The soil scientists will go to the various districts, take sample of the soils for testing to enable us know the conditions of the soil, the nutrients that are available, which ones are lacking, and then we put in place mechanisms to, treat that.
And I heard that the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Eric Opoku, meanwhile, he's also assured that the government is taking decisive steps to tackle food glut in rural farming communities while strengthening the country's agricultural base.
Only 7 million hectares are under cultivation. 6.6 million have not been cultivated yet. We have youthful population. When it comes to market, after it's located here, and when you look at the African population of around 1.5 billion, it's a huge market. And so we cannot understand why Ghana shouldn't be able to produce enough food to feed our people. That is why His Excellency President Mahama tasked us to put in place mechanisms to drive Ghana towards food sufficiency. And I can tell you that where we are now, we are heading towards the goal. Within the past months, we have implemented a lot of policies.
And you heard the Agric Minister, Eric Opoku. Now, the latest survey by Global Info Analytics shows that Chief of Staff Julius Deborah is the only possible NDC flag bearer candidate who trails behind the two leading MPP aspirants, Kennedy Ohinejapong and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. In all other matchups, the NDC candidates are preferred over the MPP counterparts. This finding, which comes more than 3 years ahead of the 2028 elections, raises important questions about the direction the governing party may want to consider in choosing the next leader. And of course, we'll be going into some of the specifics, really, of this latest poll by Musa Dankwa. He joins us live on the line. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
A lot of detail. We'll be going into that. I know you're hard pressed for time, so I want to speak to you quickly and perhaps let you go. But at least the few that we've seen, or the general one, is that Johnson Asiedu Nketia is leading by 51% in case he faced Kennedy Japon, who would receive about 44%, Julius Deborah 46%, Kennedy Japon 49%, Kasia Lato forcing 54%, Kennedy Japon 42%, and then Harry Naiduso 55%, as opposed to Kennedy Japon, who would receive 41%. Are you able to tell us more as regards what went into these individuals and the decisions they made regarding the candidates?
I mean, there's nothing more we can add. We just ask people, if the election is between this candidate and that candidate, who would you vote for? And we don't ask them why. So what you see is what we've been told by Ghanaians across the length and breadth of this country.
Again, what we're getting from what you put out is perhaps what kind of direction the governing party may want to consider in choosing the next leader. Are you able to tell us more about the thinking into this?
No, I mean, this is something that posters do all over the world. It's called head-to-head matchup. Before anybody is elected, they do that. And it's a custom that the posters do that. Everywhere they do that. In America, they do that. They do, if it is, Vance against Shapiro, how does it look like? If it is Vance against this, how does it look like? So it is something that we have just adopted from the leading posters. We are doing something here. And this is not the first time we've done this. In the last election, before 2024 elections, we did the same. It didn't cause a stir. It was fine.
The other side of it is those who are saying, yes, it's early days yet, and just about 3 years, the president has more, like 3 years more before he wraps up his presidency. For those who are looking at the direction and the fact that your own survey says that overall the NDC candidates are doing well, what would you tell the government?
No, we don't advise government. People who are in government must look and stay focused and work. We will deal with the public opinion. they can decide to make it useful, or if it's not useful, they can look away. Opinion poll would go on, regardless of whatever is happening in the country. So for us, we have nothing to say to the government as to what to do or what not to do.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dankwa, Executive Director of Global Info Analytics. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
And you had that, Mr. Dankwa, he's Executive Director, Global Info Analytics. I did say that I'll bring you some of the data that he put in his latest survey. And so I read to you the bit about Kennedy Agyapong versus NDC candidate. And I read to you the scores, the percentages of Johnson Asiedu Nkatia, Julius Debra, Dr. Kasiel Atu-Forsing, and Haruna Idrisu all matching, for instance, Kennedy Agyapong. Now, when you come to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and NDC candidates, the data also shows something different. Johnson Asiedu Nkatia versus Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the people who responded said that Johnson Asiedu Nkatia would have about 50%, whilst Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia would receive about 45%. Julius Debra will be 46% as against Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia with 50%. Dr. Kasiel Atu-Forsing 53% as against Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia with about 44%, whilst Haruna Idrisu, current education minister, would be about 55% or would receive about 55% as against the 42% of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Now let's bring you some other issues. And right here, the Vice President, Professor Nana Jino-Pokwajuman, is in the Ashanti region to inspect some market projects that have stalled for many years. She will also visit the Asantehene Otumfuose II. Vice Presidential Correspondent Evelyn Tingma is with her. She joins us live on the phone. Evelyn, which of the markets in Kumasi will the Vice President be visiting? That's if she hasn't even gone to one yet. We lost Evelyn on the line, and we'll bring you more. Now, else we tried to reconnect to Evelyn Tingma. An alarming 54 cases of cervical cancer have been recorded in the Volta region between January and July this year. This figure, according to the Ghana Health Service, shows an increasing trend in the number of cases recorded for 2024, with 500 cases recorded from 2016 to date. Correspondent Faisal Abdul Idrisu brought us some numbers and the people he spoke to.
So from 2016 to 2024, as a region, we have recorded about 500 cases of cervical cancer, about a third of whom have died. And so it's very important that we prevent these deaths through the vaccination and then the screening that we are talking about. Is what, you know, if we say reported, there are more out there. There are people that will have their discharge because of stigma. They are very sick and all that has to do with the disease. They will not come and report. But these 500 cases are those that we are saying have reported to the health facilities. This year we have recorded 54 cases, January to July. Volta region, we have in our report 54 cases. And we know, of course, that there should be more out there that are sick and have not reported. Thank you. So it's a problem that we really have to tackle through this vaccination of our girls before the risk of initiation of sex. The stakeholder engagement for us is very important because as a region and in fact as a nation, we know that public health interventions are not easily acceptable if the people that the communities trust are not involved in the intervention. We have a history in this region where during the introduction of the COVID vaccine, we had high hesitancy and so leading to very low coverages.
And you heard the representative of the Ghana Health Service speaking earlier to our correspondent Faisal, the Volta regional correspondent who joins us live on the line now. Faisal Idrisu, if you can tell us who we just heard and really what their concerns are, what they're doing about it.
Well, so these numbers, according to the Ghana Health Service, means that half of the numbers, for instance, the 54 recorded for the first half of 2024, half of them are dead persons. I mean, have died through the cervical cancer disease we are talking about. What we are saying is that over time, if we look at the data presented, that is from 2016 and now, the 500 people we are talking about, the trend is that not all persons who are affected by the virus report to the facility. So even though they are recording these high numbers, there is a possibility that a large number of people in the region have the disease but have not reported to the health facility. But the worst of it is that half of these numbers are persons who appear at the hospital at the later stage of the disease and are dying. That is a trend, and that is what it means to human life largely.
Thank you very much, Faisal Abdul Idrisu. He's our Volta regional correspondent. It is a basic human right, yet millions the world over do not enjoy this necessity. According to UN Habitat, out of every 8 persons today, at least 3 do not have access to adequate housing. And out of every 4 persons, at least 1 is living in an informal settlement or slum. In this report, Portia Gabo looks at homelessness and how innovative housing solutions could be key to addressing the global housing crisis.
According to UN Habitat, adequate housing is more than shelter. It is the foundation for human dignity, health, safety, and opportunity. Yet today, 2.8 billion people experience some form of housing inadequacy. 1.1 billion live in informal settlements and slums, and more than 300 million are homeless.
We can't build a livable world if people don't have a place to live. Housing is a human right. It is a public good, and it is crucial to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals.
At 1 a.m., female head porters, popularly referred to as Kayayi, have made the street of Tema Station their home because they lack accommodation after migrating from different parts of the country, especially the northern sector, to Accra to make ends meet.
Yeah, I'm feeling fine.
We are not okay here. It is not our wish to be out here. We are at the mercy of the weather. When it rains, we have to stand all night until it stops. We don't have accommodation here. If we had decent and affordable accommodation, we will be okay.
Here, wives, grandmothers, aunties, sisters, pregnant and nursing mothers, and even babies sleep in the open despite the risk.
Those who even have a place to sleep, like they rented, very difficult because the landlord, they are facing problem with the landlord because it's a fixed price they were given to them. Every Saturday you have to pay your room or Friday. So now, in case you go to market for the whole week and you haven't get anything, what will happen? You will be rejected by the landlord.
The homeless situation does not only affect the female porters, but cuts across different demographics. Some key causes of homelessness include poverty, unemployment, and lack of affordable housing. For those who cannot pay rent, they settle for wooden structures in slum communities. According to the Ghana Statistical Service, about 4.8 million people are living in slums in the country.
57% of households are in urban areas. 46.1% of households exhibit slum conditions. 29.5%.
Portia Gabo filed that report. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us on the Midday News today on True FM 92.7. Log on to streetnews.com for more news. Have a good afternoon.
3FM 92.7. Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to the Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up this afternoon, financial CEO urges government to prioritize private sector for job creation.
The government cannot and should not attempt to provide jobs for all these people. That's the responsibility of the private sector.
Also, experts highlight profit sharing as core of non-interest banking.
Based on what we call the profit and loss sharing ratio. So once we make profit, we share. We make loss, we share. So that is how that system works.
Bring you details of these and other stories. Please stay with us. I am Enyunam Haliga. Now to a first story. The Chief Executive Officer of Daylex Finance, Joe Jackson, has called on government to take deliberate action in creating a more conducive operating environment for the private sector. Joe Jackson emphasized that a thriving private sector is the key to spurring national economic growth and generating the essential jobs urgently needed for the country's growth. Now, speaking on the economy, Jackson noted that while government initiatives are important, the most effective and long-lasting solution to unemployment lies in empowering private enterprises to expand and hire.
The last labor report from the Ghana Statistical Service put the overall unemployment rate at 13.6% as of December 2024. This means that for every 100 people of employable age who want a job, 14 are unemployed. While the headline figure of 13.6% might not seem excessively high to some, financial expert Joe Jackson argues that the real crisis lies in what the number conceals. Per Ghana Statistical Service figures, for those aged 15 to 24 and looking for jobs, 32% are unemployed, a rate that falls to 22.5% when the age bracket is extended to 15 to 35. For employable men, 11 out of 100 are unemployed, while for women, 15 out of 100 are unemployed.
Those who have left JSS who want a job, 1/3 of them can't get a job. Those who have left SSS that want a job, 1/3 of them can't get a job. Those who have left university and want a job, 1/3 of them can't get jobs. That's a whole generation that are not getting jobs when they need and when they want to and when their energies are high. Are we then surprised that crime seems to be exploding and younger kids are looking for quick money?
He argues that government's role should be to create a conducive environment for the private sector to thrive.
Job creation should be number one on our agenda, with an important injunction. The government cannot and should not attempt to provide jobs for all these people. That's the responsibility of the private sector. What the government should do is to keep a stable, even play field, so that private institutions can thrive and create the jobs that they need to. Otherwise, all that will happen will be variations of the same thing that you've done before. The government pretends to employ. The young people also pretend to work, and they pretend to get paid. And the job vanishes as soon as there's a regime change. And half the time, their payment is in huge arrears.
That was a report on the CEO of Daylex Finance, Joe Jackson, urging government to prioritize private sector for job creation. Now moving on, the Director General of the Islamic Finance Research Institute of Ghana, a non-profit organization, Dr. Ali Shaibu, has underscored the foundational principle of non-interest banking, emphasizing its nature as a system built on participation and profit sharing. Dr. Shaibu explained that unlike conventional banking, the non-interest model, which adheres to ethical and faith-based guidelines, avoids fixed interest and instead operates on risk sharing. This means that the bank and its clients become partners, jointly sharing in profits and losses generated from investment and venture.
With the other, the conventional system, they charge interest as a form of income to the bank. But the alternative system rather goes into partnership. So going into partnership, what it means is that the bank is going to enter into partnership with the clients. So in terms of sustainability, is going to work. In terms of even measuring the risk factor, is going to work. So what we are looking at is once there's a partnership, everybody will make sure. So the beauty of the non-interest banking system is participatory. It's not like the bank gives you the money and they go and sleep. Whether you make profit or loss, they have to come for their money. With this one, once you make profit, we are sharing. So it's based on what we call the profit and loss sharing ratio. So once we make profit, we share. We make loss, we share. So that is how that system works.
Director General of the Islamic Finance Research Institute of Ghana, a non-profit organization, Dr. Ali Shaibu there. Now, the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy has criticized Energy Minister Dr. John Jinapor's projection that Ghana will achieve 35% renewable energy in its power mix by December 2025. Executive Director for the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy stated that the claim is overstatement and could undermine the country's official target of 10% renewable energy by 2030, as outlined in the country's Renewable Energy Master Plan and the Renewable Energy Act.
Ghana's Renewable Energy Master Plan, developed with support from the United Nations Development Programme UNDP, explicitly sets a target of increasing the proportion of renewable energy in the national mix to 1,363.63 megawatts by 2030, with a focus on non-hydro sources. By over-relying on large hydro to meet a high percentage target, SEMSE fears Ghana may lose sight of its ambitious goal to build a robust and decentralized renewable energy market.
If we talk of mainly hydro, as of 2015, our hydro mix within our energy space or the installed capacity was 43%. So if Ghana had already attained 43% of hydro, then means that if we are using large hydro at the benchmark, then Ghana has already achieved within the 10% of the renewable that we're talking about to renewable. So this overstatement must not be accepted. I think that Ghana will not achieve 35% of renewable energy by December 2025. We are not there yet.
According to Benjamin Insia, the minister's 35% projection for 2025, which likely includes large hydro, deviates from the country's long-term, legally backed strategy for a diversified and sustainable energy future. The Renewable Energy Act 2011, Act 832, and its subsequent amendment in 2020 also provide a legal framework to promote technologies like solar, wind, and biomass. The framework recognizes hydro of up to 100 megawatts as renewable.
So why do we consider we and Akosombo, which are traditionally based load energy sources, as renewable energy? I think that the ministry is overstating these issues for whatever reason we do not know. But the reason why they made the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, is to introduce other new renewables into our energy mix. And we expect that by 2030, 10% of our energy mix should be the new renewables.
Currently, Ghana is doing 2.4% of renewable energy in the generation mix.
And finally, before we go, government failed to meet its Treasury bill target at Friday's auction, even with strong demand for the short-term 91-day bill. The total target of 5.581 billion cedis across all three tenors saw bids amounting to only 3.485 billion cedis, with government ultimately accepting 3.382 billion Ghana cedis. There's more in the following report.
The shortfall comes despite the successful preceding auction on September 19, 2025, where government raised 3.43 billion cedis, surpassing its 3.01 billion cedis target by 412 million cedis. The 91-day bill was the star performer, attracting bids of 2.661 billion cedis, of which the government accepted 2.651 billion cedis at a yield of 10.50%. 5%. The tenor alone accounted for the majority of the accepted bids, indicating strong market preference for short-term government paper. Demand was considerably lower for the long-term bills. The 182-day bill attracted offers of 705 million cedis, with 615 million cedis accepted at an interest rate of 12.39%. For the 364-day bill, bids totaled only 119 million cedis, with government accepting 116 million cedis at a yield of 12.89%. The auction results suggest that while liquidity is available, investors may be exercising caution in committing funds to the higher yielding, longer tenor instruments, potentially due to prevailing market expectations or liquidity needs.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on government missing Treasury bill target despite strong 91-day bill demand. That'll be all for Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. For more news, please check our website at 3news.com. I am Enyona Maliga.